Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Underground. So today we're going to be taking a look at ATAK, or more specifically WinTAK, and how you can use it to plan missions. So as you can probably guess, ATAK is a very useful platform, and it can do a lot of things. In fact, it can do so many things that people have a hard time trying to contextualize and sort of understand exactly what ATAK can do. So today we're going to be running through a fictitious scenario and showing how ATAK can be a valuable mission asset in the civilian world as well. So we're really not going to go over any one particular feature today. We're just going to be playing around and messing around with WinTAK and showing you some of the different things that it can do. ATAK, or WinTAK in this case, is not perfect. In fact, ATAK, the whole TAK family of products, WinTAK is by far the most undesirable in the ATAK community because it has a lot of issues and it's not really a priority for development. It's not quite as Gucci as the ATAK apps. However, we find that using WinTAK for mission planning is pretty useful considering that you have the power of a PC computer and you can use a mouse and other things as well. It's not, it's easier to do things on a laptop than on a phone. So let's go through our fictitious mission scenario. All right, so exercise, all that jazz. Mission scenario. You have received reporting through local information sources that unknown aircraft have been staging at your local airport. Intelligence reported through your human networks indicates that the aircraft are staging at the airport, with more aircraft arriving periodically. Your mission is to establish a covert observation post from which a rotating team can observe aircraft landing at the airport. Once the covert observation post is complete, your task is to conduct visual reconnaissance of the airport, as well as any aircraft landing or taking off. You are required to log every aircraft that may be on the ground and where they are parked, reporting back SITREPs every hour. You are responsible for your own support. There will be no chance of aerial resupply, and ground-based resupply will not be guaranteed. As a result, you are responsible for all mission planning and have nearly unlimited leeway for how you complete this mission. So yeah, in the civilian world, this might be all of the information that you get. No formal PIRs, no EEIs. Your entire intelligence collection mission might result from a 5-minute phone call or a text message exchange, and it's your job to organize, plan, and carry out the mission. You do not have a battle staff to help you. You will usually be on your own. So for all of the real military and government analysts out there, please keep this in mind as we're going through this. We're looking at this through the lens of the civilian world. And as such, we do have a few assumed factors for this exercise to make it a little bit more easy in the training environment. For one, the weather. We will assume a broken cloud ceiling at 15,000 feet MSL, above mean sea level, that will move into a full overcast ceiling by the time we SP or hit the start point. Precipitation is not expected during the duration of this mission. The elevation of the airport is right at around 5,700 feet. So that means that as we're standing on the ground, we're going to have about 9,300 feet of clear airspace over our heads. This is good for evading detection for unmanned aerial systems that won't be able to fly down below the cloud ceiling. So really we're just looking at terrain masking from terrestrial collection efforts, if there are any. And as far as electronic surveillance, we're going to assume that cell phone stingrays will be operational in the nearby city, and that aircraft landing in the airport might have like Gilgamesh boxes or dirt boxes on board as well. And on the counter surveillance front, we're going to assume that limited counter surveillance efforts will be conducted, but they will be limited to the immediate perimeter of the airport. So that's pretty much it. Just a quick and dirty, hey, let's go figure out what's going on over there type mission. All right, so here we are in WinTAK. So also, just for simplicity's sake and to avoid a lot of the frustration that comes with an online imagery source, I've went ahead and downloaded to my computer imagery for this area. So in this green box here, it's already preloaded. So we're going to the first thing we're going to do is load in our sort of target. Right, we're not actually connecting targeting here, but we need somewhere to go off. So we're going to go up here to the top left, click Import Manager and Import Files, because lucky enough our source gave us a KMZ. So as you see, I already have a few here, but I'm going to click this one, and that's going to be it. It's going to take a minute to load. Okay, thank you, Import Manager. So let's go over here to our overlays. See, it kind of glitched out for a second. All right, here we go. Let's see, File Overlays. We've got KML loaded in there, and as you can see, we have our target airport KMZ, and that's it. There's only one point in there. See, this is what happens when you're in the sort of civilian world. You're not going to get a full PIR list, and it's not going to be specific. You might just get a grid, and that's it. So just as a side note, I've got another one loaded in here just from messing around a little bit. But so if you wanted to delete another one, just to make things more simple, you go up here, select it, and delete. And that'll delete it. So now really we've only got this one KML file, this one target right there, and that zooms it to it. So when I'm looking at this airport, I'm looking at it looks like a fairly civilian style airport, right? Nothing super duper special about it. I did choose this location randomly. This airport has really no major significance. I only picked it because it has a lot of good terrain nearby so that we could use our 3D functionality in WinTAK pretty well. So I just picked it because it will allow us to check that out a little easier. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is figure out where I'm going to put my LPOP. And as you remember, one of the very few requirements of this mission is to be able to see the runway, be able to see the parking zones, see aircraft on the tarmac, and be able to identify them. So we need to be close enough to figure that out, but we also need to be close enough or far enough away to where we're going to avoid that counter surveillance and avoid that Stingray electronic surveillance down here to the southeast. They said in the urban area. So what we're going to do is I'm just looking at this. I can look and say, all right, cool. It looks like there's a mountain range here. This is more of a valley floor here. I'm going to guess that my recon site's going to be up in this area somewhere. This is just me looking down at it on the map. But let's be absolutely sure. So what we're going to do to figure out what you can see from the ground, we're going to do what's called a view shed. Now, a lot of people tend to sort of explain the view shed a little bit wonky, but it's actually quite simple. So let me go ahead and zoom in here to what I want to be able to see from far away. And let's go ahead and zoom in here to the aircraft parking area. So what I'm going to want to do is go to Elevation Tools. Let that load for just a second. Now, on your computer, of course, this will be much faster. The only reason that it's slow is because I'm not using a terribly good computer for this, and the screen recording software takes a lot of CPU power. So once we've got Elevation Tools opened up here, we have three menus at the top. We're going to click View Shed, and what we're going to do is set our height above marker at 5 feet. We're just going to leave that there. I'll explain what that means in a minute. Just remember that it is set at 5 feet. Now we're going to set our radius to be something quite big, in this case 15 kilometers. And we're going to keep the intensity at right around 40% or so. We'll show you what that means in a minute, but basically the 40% is just to make sure that you can still see the ground. You can do 100%, then you won't be able to see anything, but next we're going to select the marker. So we're going to click this button right here. As you can see right here on the map, you see tap a marker or location on the map. Pretty simple. We're just going to click on the map. So this is a view shed. I'm going to go ahead and exit out for just a second and show you what this means. And the way view sheds work is if you are a 5-foot person, or in this case, a 5-foot target, standing at this little eyeball symbol, you can see everything in green. There's clear line of sight to everything in the green. Everything in red you can't see. So as if we go ahead and tilt the map a little bit, you can see that obviously the low-lying areas are in red because you're probably obscured by things like buildings and other terrain features. But if you look upwards towards the more higher terrain, you can see obviously this mountain here you'll be able to see, and then over here you won't be able to see that from the ground because come up over this ridge. So this is very handy. This allows you to more easily select and figure out a good site to go from. So this is, of course, one of many tools. And the reason that I set this at 15K, obviously it's obviously not ideal to be able to surveil a target from, 10 miles away or so. But this just shows the function. So let me go ahead and pick a good spot, and we'll come back to this in just a second. All right, so I've got a good spot picked out, and what I'm going to do is turn off the view shed for just a second. So I'm going to open up my elevation tools again, go over here and click remove view shed, and we will come back to that in just a second. And let me turn on the point that I found by going to overlays. Let that load for just a second. Yeah, it's really slow here. Let's go to spot marker. There we go. And that's the place I found. So this is just, of course, a good training exercise, right? So as you can see, it's here. Let me go ahead and tilt the map for you a little bit if it doesn't want to freeze up on me. There we go. So see, it's right here up on this hill. It's got not a whole lot of cover there, but we're not really so much concerned about that right now, are we? So yeah, this is a decently good spot. It's right up there on the ridgeline. Honestly, I would probably move it down so that you could move it down to like the military crest here, so you're not silhouetted against the ridgeline there, but whatever, this works for training exercises. So what I'm going to do is tilt this back north, and we're going to do another view shed just to make absolutely certain that this spot can see the target, and it gives us an idea of what this place can see. So let's go over to view shed. We'll do it 15K again, 5 feet above marker. So a 5-foot person standing at this point right here. We'll do it a little bit down the hill a little ways. And let's go ahead, select the marker, and click right there. That should give us on this side of the ridge. And yeah, that's a pretty good, once I zoom out here, that's a pretty good view shed. So as you can see, if I'm a 5-foot person or sitting in a 5 foot above the ground level position at that little eyeball, I can see the entirety of the target. And this position's not too bad. It gives me good command of a good portion of the valley, a good portion of the city down here as well. But then it also is right there on that ridge line, right there on that edge of being able to pop back over, pop back into the red, and not have direct line of sight to the target, which is always a good thing, just in case, right? So this looks like a pretty good site. Now, of course, we could do a lot of other videos selecting this sort of thing, but this is really just to show the features of ATAK. So let's say that this is the site I want. So let me go ahead and turn off, or actually let me leave the view shed on. I was going to turn it off, but let me go ahead and put some contour lines on the map here in the elevation tools as well. I'm going to show the lines. I'm going to leave them as this sort of orangish color. Let me make them yellow actually, so you can see them a little better. So yeah, this does confirm to me that, yep, I'm right there on that nice ridge line. It looks like it does get a little steeper over here, and it's a nice sloping downhill area. And then there's another valley over here. It looks like a box canyon or something going up this way. Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those contour lines back off, and I'm going to go to my view shed and turn my view shed off. I'm going to turn the heat map on just to play around a little bit, show you what the heat map is. This shows you the high spots are red, low spots are blue. As you can see, that shows you how that works. Not as ideal, and obviously the more you zoom in, the more detail you're going to get, but heat maps are not really a good thing unless you're building a product or something like that. All right, so let's turn that heat map off, and let's get out of this. And let's say that we need to get to this site, obviously, right? We need to get there somehow. So I'm going to start looking around, and let's say that I am going to find a good spot to park. Let's see here. I found one earlier when I was just messing around. I think this one's it, yeah. So this is looks like a good 2-track road. But just in case we want to verify that that road is wide enough for a vehicle to get down, let's go ahead and go to the range and bearing up here at the top left. And then we can click measure, and then we can click and drag to measure. There we go. And then once sorry, hang on, my thing's hanging up just a second. We could tell a lot of stuff about it, and we could open up the metadata over here. once it loads, and it will tell us that that is 13 feet across, or 4 meters, or 0.00 nautical miles, right? And what bearing it's along as well, and mils as well if you need that sort of thing. So that's kind of handy to have. So this tells us that that road is in fact 13 feet across, and that is more than enough for us. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and cancel that, and we will delete that as well. All right, so let's say that we want to park right here. Just me looking at this map, just from not really being familiar at all with this area, it looks like a pretty well used, especially well used for considering how remote this area is. And the elevation profile of this area is insane. But it looks like there's a nice little, maybe a little stream, dry riverbed right there. So let's go ahead and say we're going to park right here. So what we're going to do is, I know I skipped right over dropping a point, so I'll show you how to drop a point right now using the point dropper. We'll let that load for just a second. Alright, so over here on the point dropper, this is the kind of cool part. You have a lot of different icons and stuff that you can use. So we're just going to use the spot map for a while. These are just different colored dots, right? Different colored dots that you can put on the map. We're going to use green for now. So let's say that I want to use this road for infill, and then break off and hide a vehicle or something. Let's say, let's try right about there. Alright, so let's go ahead. That comes across as G1. It automatically labels it green 1, right? So let's go ahead and change that name to VDO, Vehicle Dismount Operations. This is where we're going to park our vehicle and get out and start walking. Alright, so if we want to do that, what we can do is we can use ATAK to figure out the best way to get up there. So let's say that you can see this is kind of a good distance away here. Let's see how far it is as the crow flies. Right, looks like 3,750 feet. Right, so let's put that in kilometers. Yep, so a little over a K, right? So that's as the crow flies, and as you can see, that is going to be if we were to walk straight there, that's going to be a pretty significant elevation change. And handy for us, right here on the range and bearing page, at the bottom right, you can click Elevation Profile. And this is an interesting tool. This is one of the more interesting things and more useful things that ATAK does. It will tell you over a period of distance how much elevation gain you're going to have. So as you can see here, the elevation gain, or loss in this case, since we did it from the point down to here instead of from the VDO up to the point, it's 460 feet of elevation change. So that's not insignificant, especially if you're carrying like a 100-pound ruck or something like that and a lot of equipment. You could see along where this elevation change goes just by clicking and dragging like that. So this shows you at what point the elevation is at. And we'll cover this tool a lot more in a separate video. But let's say that I don't want to go along this straight route. I want to take my time, and I want to come up this hill here and then take this ridge line down. We're going to do this a few times, so don't worry. So let's go to making a route. We want to have a route so that we can follow it, right? So let's wait for this to load, click routes up here, and then we're going to add a new route. And we're going to make this route, we'll call this route yellow, and it will be a walking route. It will be an infill, and it will be our primary, and it will be ascending, right? So let's start dropping points. As you can see, that once I clicked OK over here, we now have this nifty thing up here on our toolbar, and we can start making points. So the VDO is now our point 1. Right, so let's keep going over here, and then I'm going to use my keyboard here. The WASD keys will allow you to move this sideways, and also your arrow keys. So whatever's more comfortable for you. For me, it's WASD because I'm right-handed, using the mouse with my right hand, and use WASD with my left. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and follow up, keeping some cover down. Right, make sure that I'm not really taking too much effort into this. This is going to be, if I was really going to do this for real, I would take a lot more time and effort using that elevation tool to sort of follow the contours up, just like any other hiking trip, really. All right, so we're up here at the top of this ridge. Say I don't want to go to the very top of the ridge. I want to maintain that military crest back down here. So I click and drag these points so that we're out of visual range of the target, and then we're going to continue down this ridge line, more or less, staying out of the view of the target. Probably should have left on the view shed down there at the target for now, but whatever. All right, we're going to follow this all the way down, all the way down, all the way down, and then we pop up over the ridge line, and we are there. So there you go. That's how you make a route in WinTAK or ATAK. Then we're going to click End Editing, and it's going to be right there. So let's go ahead and zoom out, and we'll look at this. All right, so that's our good route right there, and it will show us what we see along the way. So if you have multiple points along the way, you can add in points as well. But say I wanted to do another one. Say I wanted to take a little bit more indirect route, or I wanted an alternate route back to the vehicle in case I get compromised or something. You always want an alternate route. So let's go ahead and make a new route. We're going to make this route, let's see here, what do you guys think? Let's do blue. And it will be, again, a walking route, and this will be infill, and it will be secondary, and okay. Let's go ahead and drive this one again. Let's go this way this time. Now, usually you want to have different infills on different sides of the objective so that you can come in from different angles if you need be, depending on which way the wind's blowing, all that kind of stuff. But I say we take the lower route, and then we just kind of hump it up over this hill here, which is going to be a pretty good elevation change for us. And there we go. Just for simplicity's sake, we'll make it easy. There we go. All right, so we've got two different routes for infill. We could use these for exfil. We could change them, whatever you wanted to do. That's how you make routes. And the cool part is that say I was trying to choose between these two, what I could do is go over here to the route details and click elevation profile, and it will tell me how hard that trip will be. As you can see, grab our slider over here. It's going to be not a whole lot of elevation gain, not a whole lot of elevation gain, and then here at the end it sort of goes up as we pop up over that hill. So that's kind of interesting. It's really helpful for planning hiking routes and a lot of other stuff as well. So let's go ahead and choose. Let me do the same thing with route yellow here. Do the elevation tool again, and we'll see. Oh, the elevation tool is still locked on the other one. Sorry, hang on just a second. Route 2. We're going to change this to route, let's see, route yellow. Just for simplicity's sake. Let's take that elevation route again. Let's see what we got here. So this one, it looks like you actually go downhill for a good amount of time, for a little bit. And you start coming up, and then it's a slow, steady incline. This one looks like it's a lot harsher, actually. But then once you're up there on top of that ridge, as you can see, it levels out pretty good for the rest of the way. So this one might be advantageous for some things, depending on what you're trying to do. If you find that you'd like to, the weather's permitting, and you want to have this part of your journey right here, climbing up that mountain at that point in time to be the strenuous part, you could do that. Otherwise, you could take the other easier route. Or you could go one way and then come back the other. Either way, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to route blue, and that will work for that, just so that we can have that nice and neat for later. All right, so we're done editing those routes, and let's say that we want to add some phase lines here. Phase lines are a good way of, in case you're going up there, not up there by yourself, and you're reporting back your position to someone else, like a headquarters element or just family back at home. What you can do is add in phase lines, and this is a good way to demonstrate the drawing tool. So let me get rid of our routes over here. Let's go to our drawing tool right here. I'm just going to click draw polyline, and this is it. I'm just going to say pick a good spot for a phase line. Let's see right here. See, if you remember, we were going downhill until we got right here, and then this right here, this section from here to here was the most difficult part. So I'm going to put a phase line right there for route yellow. I'm going to end the shape, and let's see what we're going to do this. And I'm going to name it. Let's call it phase line. Let's go with SpongeBob. See, it doesn't have to be anything super duper special. I'm going to hesitate to name it yellow because our route's already yellow, so I'm going to pick orange. I know SpongeBob is obviously not orange, but that kind of helps a little bit. And then I'm going to go over here, and so there we've got phase line SpongeBob. And this is so that, say that you're trying to radio back and you don't have anybody tracking you like every step you take, right? You're actually having to expend resources to transmit your position. You could say, hey, we just passed phase line SpongeBob. It's a milestone in your trek. So let's put one right there, and let's put another one up here right as you get to the ridge, because if anything's going to happen, it's when you get to the very top of this elevation, and you might have some kind of adversarial force on the other side. Something might happen. If there's anything going to happen, it's going to be right here at this point. So let's go ahead and draw another polyline. Let's put it like right about here. We'll end that shape, and we'll call this one, once it loads, call this one phase line Patrick. We will make it magenta. There we go. And close that out. And then let's put one more in there. Because if you remember, this is not along the very top of the ridgeline, because as we remember, we don't want to silhouette ourselves. We want to not have visual range of the contact until we're almost in position. So let's put another phase line right about here. That way, somebody, if we said this phase line, right, if we cross this phase line right here, we'll know that we're almost there on top of the objective. So let's go ahead and drop another one in there. We'll drop it like right here, so that's a good one. See if it loads, and we'll call this one phase line Squidward. And we will make it, let's see, sort of light blue. That'll work. So yeah, that's sort of keeping a theme. It kind of helps things as well. I'm not going to put phase lines for blue here, just because of time constraints. And it's once you've done a couple of these, you'll know how to do the others. So now we've got a product that's starting to take place here. Now let's say, for instance, that like I said, cell phone jamming is kind of an issue, right? So what I'm going to want to do is go back here to our target. Let's say right here in the city. And I want to avoid direct line of sight to the city. So I'm going to go over here to elevation tools once again. We're going to do another view shed once again. So you drop one, let's drop it right there. I'm sorry, forgot to select it. Drop it right there, and let's close that out for a second. Let's see if it reaches all the way to our target. Yeah, it does. All right, cool. So if I'm in this red here, I'm not going to be in direct line of sight to this city, which means that if I'm using a cell phone, I'm most likely going to be connecting to towers over here to the north, right? Unless I pop over this ridge line, then there's most likely a cell tower somewhere down here. Now, if your communications dudes and your operation dudes or whoever is on top of their stuff, they can give you a KMZ of all of the cell towers in this area, so you can more accurately make your route to avoid any potential electronic surveillance. But we don't have that capability. So what we're going to do is set up a good spot that we can pop back over to make a radio call back north, back to, say, maybe our vehicle, right? And where we have a bigger repeater. So let's go ahead and drop another point right here in this red spot. And this will be our good radio zone. It's nice and clear. There's not a whole lot of vegetation, but we want to stick. We don't want to be out in the open. We want to be able to get in there very easily without our footprints coming around. So let's go ahead and put it right about, right about here. Use a point dropper again. Let's see if we have a different symbol here. Maybe a different symbol that we can use. Let's see, markers. Nah. Okay. Generic icons. No, those are all numbers. I forgot. Let's say Google's probably got something. Let me look here. Yeah, sure, why not? We'll just use that for the telephone for a while. And that will be our point. And we could change the name of it to, radio site. There you go. And so you can start building these products and start putting these things together just by using ATAK. And because a lot of times you're stuck using Google Earth to kind of figure out, okay, what's a good place to put our radio, things like that. Where's a good site to set up? Well, this is a lot easier. And as you can see, the 3D element of ATAK is not as good as Google. The reason that it's kind of hanging up here is because even I've used this for quite a while now, and even I'm not used to it yet, because to swivel this way, to swivel along this axis, you have to hold down your right mouse, and then to swivel up and down, you have to hold down mouse 3, your scroll wheel click, and then holding down left mouse allows you to just move your eyeball pointer around. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. It is very different from Google. When you start using this, if you were used to having the Google scroll wheel key doing everything, you're going to have to adapt. But yeah, so this is how a product starts coming together. All right, now let's say I need an emergency egress route. Let's say I need to get the heck out of there because there's some kind of weather or storm or something like that. Well, it looks like I can make it down to this road here pretty good, and then I can just follow that road all the way up to my vehicle or something like that. Or say that I need supplies, something like that, I can put in another point. Just go ahead and drop in another point here. This site right here looks like the last, sorry, it hung up there for a second. This site here looks like the last little bit. See where it starts? Looks like there's a ridge line right here, or some kind of soft ridge line that kind of obscures, so you can be seen from the city down there, but right here you can't be. It looks like a nice wide area right here with a blind curve around it. So I can put in a resupply point right there. Let me put in let's use another spot. I'll put an orange point. We'll put that as potential resupply. Resupply 1. We'll just make it like that. See, there you go. And this is pretty cool. And, a lot of us are familiar with doing this in either something like Palantir or Gaia, or even something like Google Earth if you're not one of the high-speed dudes and don't have access to those tools. But for the civilian side, this is really a very, very powerful tool, because you can make these mission graphics and things like that, and you don't really have to have a huge amount of resources. And also, if someone's here using this WinTAK, you can connect with a network so that you can actually monitor this stuff real time. So say you've got dudes sitting in this LPOP, right? And they are observing down there. Well, you'll see on your map when they start dropping points. So you can even call in threats and say, look, hey, look, I see there's a vehicle somewhere, so I can just go ahead and right click real quick, make it a hostile point, and boom, send it to them instantly. Okay, so yeah, here are our here's our operation, right? This is just a very bare bones route. It's basically just a hiking GPS file that you can load into a GPS. But if you're using ATAK, you have the ability to do a lot of different things. Say that you're coming up here, you're almost to phase line SpongeBob here, and you spot a game camera or something like that, and you want to kind of avoid that so that you're not being surveilled. Say that it's right here. You can very quickly right click and drop a point right there, and this is a contact, and you can change this and edit this here in the thing. I don't know if I would label this as a contact or just a point, because it's kind of a static, the game camera is a static thing, but let's just put this in there. Sorry, my keyboard is hanging up for just a second. There we go. And there you go. You can put a game camera right there, or something like that. You can change the symbol on this if you were to drop a point and all that kind of stuff. But this is most likely what your dude in the field is going to be doing from the actual ATAK app. It takes half a second to drop a point, and you can convert it to whatever you want here back at your home sort of station, right? So let's say that you make it all the way up here to your LPOP site, and you say, I really don't like it. Let me go ahead and move it a little bit. Let's go ahead and move it down the hill a little ways. Say that like that's a better spot. There you go. That's how you move a target. So you click on it, and then you've got this nice radial menu here, and without even having to edit anything, you can go ahead and click that button, and that turns it into a nice, more precision tool, right? And then you can move it around. Say I want to move it around to, let's see, right there in the shade of that bush. That'll be a good spot, right? So say that's your new LPOP site. And once you get established and things like that, you can use other different symbols and things down here on your target. So say that you're in position here and you're looking at your vehicles here on the ground. Looks like, let's see if there's any military vehicles for real here in this image. I don't really see any unless there's like a C-12 or something down there that looks like a civilian aircraft. Let's see. Yeah, no, it looks just like normal civilian traffic. But let's just say that a C-130 or something lands and then parks like right here. Well, what you can do is go ahead and drop a point. And then instead of spot map, we can go down here to vehicles. There you go. What did I say? C-130? There you go. Click C-130. Drop it right there. And that will drop the actual size of the C-130 on the map, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so that's how you do that. And you can, of course, change it by moving the heading around and things like that. So from your radial menu, that's how you change which direction that it's pointed in. Let's say it's parked right there just like that. And let's say that it's actually not there. It's moved back a little bit. Move it back a little ways. Oh, it's too far. It's in the building. Move it forward a little bit. Yeah, that's a good parking spot for it. And as you can see here, that shows the actual size of that aircraft on the ground. And that's very helpful for mission planning and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much how you can use ATAK for just a simple, let's go see what's going on over there mission. And you can make it a much more of, instead of just being, hey, let's go up there and see what we can see, it can actually be a legitimate planned operation. Now, of course, this is not even baby steps. This is like way before baby steps when it comes to things like actual military operation planning and the MDMP and stuff like that. But this does give a lot of people a very simple way to use ATAK in their everyday missions for the civilian world. Now, for the military world, obviously, ATAK has so many other uses that we can't even possibly cover all of them. But for the civilian side of things, we will be covering a lot more stuff like this. So hopefully this was helpful for everyone. If you have any questions, just please let us know. Drop them in the comments box below. We have about a dozen different videos already being planned to show you how to do specific things within ATAK. And then it's up to you. It's to have the flexibility to put all this stuff together. So if you're just trying to use this to plan an operation like this, a very small level operation, it's fine. You can use ATAK for that as well. So yeah, this was just a very short primer on how you can use ATAK to increase your mission, planning efforts and things like that, and really be sort of, a very good asset to your team or family or just yourself or whatnot. So yeah, please be on the lookout for the future videos we're gonna have coming out on ATAK. We're gonna show you how to do a lot of cool different stuff in ATAK. But this time around, we just wanted to show you some of the very basic features and stuff that maybe hasn't quite been talked about in a civilian context just yet. So we're going to be talking a little bit of doctrine in the future, a little bit of ATAK tactics, things, stuff like that. But this time we're just trying to get you show you what the flavors are out there for you to choose from when it comes to ATAK. So yeah, that's really all we've got for now. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you think that this stuff was useful. And make sure to follow us on our other platforms as well, just so you don't miss any of our other content. But that's all I've got for this time, so always remember to fight in the shade.